Welcome. Today, we're going to jump into a really fascinating sci-fi world full of floating cities, ancient aliens, and a huge cosmic dilemma. But here's the wild part. This story might just be a lot closer to home than you think.
So let me just start with a thought that's going to sit at the very heart of this whole thing. Forget what you learned about a random asteroid hitting the Earth. What if the event that wiped out the dinosaurs, the very thing that paved the way for us, wasn't an accident? What if it was a targeted hit?
To even begin to unpack that question, we've got to travel to a world called Second Home. A conflict is brewing there, you see, between a young idealist and the powerful elders who run the whole show. Let me introduce you to our protagonist. Bright half-holder of the violent foam. What a name, right? She's part of a species that, for now, we'll just call blimps. And she's part of this little renegade group. They are passionate believers in something called the life-soul cherisher ethic, which puts them on a direct collision course with their leader's most powerful policy, something called snow strikes.
So what is this ethic exactly? Well, it's a pretty simple rule, but it's a huge deal. You do not mess with the evolution of other planets. You especially don't use your fancy technology to sling comets at other worlds, no matter how good your reasons might seem. It's basically a prime directive for the whole solar system.
Now, this whole fight, it isn't just some internal political debate. It's all centered on a completely different species, one that is almost comically, unbelievably different from the blimps of Second Dome. The difference between these two is, well, it's night and day. The blimps are these ancient, massive, slow-moving beings, and to them, the creatures on this other world they call poison blue are just bizarre. These bipeds, they live these impossibly short lives. They scurry around at what looks like a ridiculous speed. They have these tiny little bodies, and they live on a planet that's covered in a substance the blimps can only describe as molten ice.
And this is a direct quote from a blimp's point of view. They see these bipeds as basically fragile, infantile creatures moving with this absurd, frantic energy. You know, try to imagine a being that lives for thousands of years watching a mayfly. That's the kind of scale difference we're talking about here.
Okay, so by now, you might be putting some pieces together, right? Molten ice, ridiculously fast bipeds. It's time to pull back the curtain. Let's translate what these blimps are actually talking about. Okay, let's just go right down the list. The massive, slow-moving blimps of Second Home, they're Jovians, living in the atmosphere of Jupiter. The strange planet Poison Blue, covered in molten ice. That's our home, Earth, covered in water. And those tiny, fast bipeds, yep, that's us. Meltball is Mercury, red dust is Mars, and a snow strike is a directed comet impact. This whole alien story is happening right here in our own solar system. So here is the absolute bombshell. That earlier snow strike the Jovians keep talking about, the one that cleared the way for the Poison Bluvians, that was the KT extinction event. The Jovians, the blimps of Jupiter, deliberately steered the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs, which let mammals and eventually us take over.
I mean, this just changes everything, right? Our very existence is thanks to a decision made by aliens on Jupiter. But why? Why would they do it? And maybe more importantly, why are they thinking about doing it again? So how does this even work, technically? Well, it's pretty wild. The Jovians have basically turned their 4 inner moons into giant diversion engines. They use quantum mechanics to steer comets coming in from the Oort cloud and aim them with incredible precision. It's like they're playing cosmic billiards on a scale that's just hard to even wrap your head around.
Their motivation for all this, it comes from this really deep trauma. You see, the Jovians aren't actually from our solar system. They came here after a total catastrophe. On their original world, First Home, they made a mistake, a big one. They accidentally sent a snow strike into their own sun, and it disturbed the intelligent plasma beings that lived there. Well, the star retaliated. It flared up and completely destroyed their planet, forcing the survivors to flee here, to Jupiter. And that trauma is what's driving them today. They see redirecting comets as a necessary evil, a tool for survival. And here's the scary part. Right now, in the story, the Jovian elders are gearing up for another snow strike. And this time, their target is Earth. But humanity isn't completely in the dark on this. We've got an emissary, a guy named Moses O'Dingo, who the Jovians miss here as Nosy Dingo, and he's on his ship, the Tiglath-Pileser, heading for one of Jupiter's moons. His whole mission is to find Bright Hoffelder and help her protest movement stop this impending disaster.
And this all brings us to the core philosophical questions of the story. It's not just about stopping an asteroid anymore. It's about who gets to decide the fate of an entire world.
Just let that sink in for a second. Our entire history, our very existence, we owe it all to an act of cosmic gardening by another species. They cleared the path for us. But if they gave us our beginning, do they also have the right to decide when it ends? And that leaves us with the same exact question the Jovian elders are facing. From their point of view, messing with other planets might be the only way to guarantee their own long-term survival. So I'll leave you with this. If you had that power, and you believed it was the only way to save your own world, would you sacrifice another